part of the mind's, the ego mind's objectivity of the world. And the truth is, all animals, even reptiles, have feelings.
Indeed. Indeed. How many hours would you say you've spent with the dolphins?
Not enough.
Okay. Would you say hundreds of hours, thousands of hours?
Well, I wouldn't say thousands. I could say hundreds. I first had my experience 16 years ago, and that time started leading trips. And I've brought groups and families and corporate groups and spiritual groups, primarily to Hawaii and Bimini in the Bahamas.
Do they cry? Do you find that people break down crying from their love or a healing experience with dolphins?
It's quite a variety of experiences. People, basically, what happens is when people get back on the boat, some of them are beaming, some of them are reflective, some of them are crying. It's pretty profound. I remember I saw a TV show where Robin Williams got in the water. And they were all pumped and excited, and they had this incredible swim. And then Robin gets back on the boat, and the camera's in his face, and he's like, "Give me a minute," because he's just had a very, very profound experience. And
do you ever hug them?
Well, in the wild, what we do is we refrain from physically touching them, from feeding them, or just there's like a barrier that we want to respect. And by keeping our arms at our sides and energetically telegraphing that, okay, I'm not going to be grabby, it allows them to come right up close next to us. And I have had them rub up against me. It's quite, particularly in play when we're free diving and spiraling around each other. It's quite a magical experience.
Has anybody ever gotten in the water and sang to them? I would.
Well, if you listen to my YouTube videos, you'll hear this. People say, "I never heard dolphins make that sound," and I have to confess that, I sing and tone and chant. I'm not even aware I do it till afterwards. Yes. So yes, and my tail wags as well.
Now, that YouTube video that you got over 200,000 views. How was that filmed? Who filmed that, and what did you film it in?
Well, it's actually a series of videos that I filmed, and basically I have a small handheld camera, low tech, and I've got a number of YouTube videos.
They're so darling. The dolphins are just darling. They're swimming all over the place and enjoying themselves. A lot of action.
Totally. Every species is different, and of course, every individual dolphin is unique. And their moods change from day to day. In Bimini in the Bahamas, one of the places I love to bring families, it's primarily spotted dolphins we swim with. The bottlenose dolphins are big, and as big as they are, they're one of the more shy dolphins in the wild. But the spotteds are very playful. They're very gregarious, and that's primarily the spotteds and the spinner dolphins in Hawaii that I have footage of. So yeah, I've just got a little handheld camera. I'm free diving, holding my breath, diving down, and when you dive underwater, you go from being a two-dimensional object on the surface to being 3D, and they love to just swim and spin around us. So that's a lot of what you see in the videos. Is I've just got my little handheld, and every now and then I remember to point it at me or point it at somebody else, but 90% of the time it's like right on the dolphins.
They need to come up for air, don't they? Can they stay down for a long time?
They can stay down for minutes and extended periods of time, but just like us, we share a common ancestry. They're air breathers, as are we, and our common ancestor crawled up, out of the primordial soup onto land and started sucking air. And actually, their anatomy, their ancestors had legs and toes. So their pec fins, if you x-ray their pec fins, it's similar to us. It's got a row of 5 fingers of bones.
How long do they usually live?
They're still determining that in the wild. And there's estimates up to 60. years of age. Unfortunately, in captivity, they rarely last that long at all because, there's to many people who know dolphins and have had the opportunity to be with them in the wild. Having dolphins in captivity is, really raises a lot of concern, and we still don't treat them with the love and respect that they deserve, so that they're often in suboptimal conditions.
I know that there's been an increase in sonar on a military level and that this disrupts their ability to function and communicate. And probably not just them, the whales as well and other sea life. And I was wondering what your take on that is, or if you have background about that. Or
Well, it's easy for us to get disheartened and feel hopeless in the face of the poor planning and actions of our military and governments, and our businesses, our corporations. We've basically made a lot of noise and a lot of pollution in the oceans, and there are times when low frequency active sonar has been very controversial because it's proven to kill any marine mammals, dolphins, whales, seals, within miles of its deployment.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, they basically, and we only find that those that beach themselves, most of them just die and drown, but those that beach themselves, their eardrums are ruptured and their internal organs are bleeding. So, there's many levels of concern, and as concerned as I get with that, just like my concern when I went to the Cove in Taiji.
How could you stand going to the Cove? How could you take it? Seriously, why did you go? I would never go. I wouldn't be able to handle it.
Okay, well, I went to handle it. Again, we're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Right.
I know that our planet, humanity, is awakening. And what is a part of awakening, the polarity of I'm right, you're wrong.
Right, I get that.
So I went for several reasons. One, because I love dolphins. And I found that I had begun to hate the fishermen. And I could see a lot of hatred and a lot of polarity and a lot of anger in Japan and their culture. And I realized that that's not going to shift anything. That's just creating more hatred. So I went as a way to integrate and to make a demonstration to the Japanese people to say, I disagree with your tradition of hunting and eating dolphins. I respect you as a people and a culture. And I did a healing ceremony, Ho'oponopono, for the Japanese people and for the Cove and for all the death that has transpired. So Kim, let me give you another way of looking at it. In our humanness, it's difficult to see. It's difficult to see any abuse, any suffering, any taking of life.
I also can't watch any animals being slaughtered, so it's not different.
Sure. I just am in the process of writing a blog post about that because basically this world has been set up that we take life to eat. Even plants shown to have consciousness and have really the same response to being boiled and chewed and diced. So we can look at human existence from the point of events, or we can look at it from the point of view of existence, a more transpersonal perspective. And I look at what have the saints all done. What they've done is they've taken a look at the comings and goings, the living and dying of life from a divine, a spiritual point of view. And from the point of eternity, it lessens. It's not a big deal because we're infinite. And I truly believe that the dolphins know this, that they're spiritual beings and they don't have the same kind of veils we do, and they're diving in. And, I mean, when I was at the Cove, I was being introduced to one of the management of the Fishermen's Union as the boats are driving the dolphins into the bay to be killed. And I was so torn, Kim. I want to turn and look and watch the horror that I don't want to watch. At the same time, I'm being introduced by an activist who's trying to build bridges to the head or one of the heads of the Fishermen's Union. Now, he doesn't want to talk to us, but in his polite culture, he's just looking straight ahead. and I'm wanting to be respectful because I'm there to